Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Rich Lord Vlog podcast. Today I've got a good friend of mine, Mike Howley, I'm going to be talking to and finding out about his world and how he's changed his by leaving the corporate world. So let's get started. Hi Mike, how you doing?
Hello, sir. Very, very well. It's great to catch up again, my friend.
You're looking well,
Thank you, sir. You too. You too.
Now, our paths first crossed must be over 10 years ago now. We were both working for
Yes.
the NHS. You were a project manager. You
Yes.
were very much living the corporate world, in the bands and the grades and all the kind of thing that kind of big
Yep.
organisations have going on. What was your
Yeah.
experience of that?
Yeah. So I guess that was my actual first like proper job from kind of leaving uni, really. I'd done some traveling and whatnot, and I did project management at uni. So it was
Mhm.
kind of I was just trying to find a job in some kind of project management office, and luckily one of the recruitment agents found kind of like NHS Digital that we both work for. It was HSCIC, I think, back then,
Mm,
actually, all the way
mm,
back then. And it was actually a data input job that I got, but they told me if I, kind of spoke to the right people, kind of get my foot in the door and tell them I'd studied project management, I potentially could get a job. And I did that, made some really good friends in there. Tom, was it Tom Dean? I think
Tom Dean, yeah.
one of the program managers there. We became good friends, and he said like, I think I might be able to get you a little bit of like an extension on this project I'm working on. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, great. So he kind of got me on there. So my foot in the door there was really through temping, and then I kind of got like a fixed contract, so to speak. It was only for like 6 months, but
Mhm.
then in that time I was trying to kind of like a madman trying to get like a full-time job there right before all my contracts run out.
Mhm.
And luckily I did that, really. And kind of I think NHS, like a lot of these big organizations out there, if you find out how the system works and you get good
Mm.
at these interviews, you can kind of work up the ladder quite quickly, right? And one of our other good friends, or one of my good friends anyway, Dave Whelan. You
Mhm.
remember Dave?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of showed me the ropes with the interviews, really. So if you do this and do this, that, this is the structure,
Mhm.
you should be able to kind of like kill the game, really. And
Mm.
within like a year, I'd kind of moved up another band, and then within like another 18 months, I kind of moved up into another band. And that's what the trap was for me, really, because I really got addicted to that. Well, if I can get this interview and I get this job, I can get more money,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And I got really comfortable with that, to be honest. It got to a point where like every year or year and a half, I was going for promotions and I was getting them because I knew the structure of it.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I was involved in, I got some really good experience, and I was definitely thrown into the deep end there. But just the whole thing of earning good money quickly was just very kind of like enticing for
Mm.
me.
Mhm.
And that's how I kind of like, built up to kind of, it was like 8A or whatever it was before I left. I was in an 8A position for 3, 4 years before I left
Mhm.
in the end. But I would say kind of like my main sticking point there and why I kind of kept there was obviously one for the money, but mainly because it was quite flexible. Like, I
Mm.
don't know about the position you was in at the time, but I kind of was just kind of like left to my own devices, really. As
Mm.
long as I did my work, I would kind of,
Mhm.
no one would be on my back, really.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I think it would have been the same for you. We could kind of choose our hours, really, right? It's quite
Yeah.
flexible like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I think I changed my kind of like contract to be where I was only working 4 days a week. So I had Mondays
Mm.
off, and everyone pretty much worked from home on Fridays,
Yeah.
right? And so I was in the office like 3 days a week, and
Mhm.
for me, that was my biggest trap and why I stayed there for so long, really.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's good because when you're not micromanaged like some places are, you've got that
yeah,
freedom to be yourself. You get stuck into it. You can work the
yeah,
times you need. If you need a longer lunch break or you need to kind of start earlier or work later, that's fine. And this was
yeah.
pre-COVID, so
Yes,
before
it
the
was.
world merged into the hybrid working approach.
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of that organisation was really good. It tried to encourage people to be what they can be, but within a structure.
Yes, for sure. 2 seconds. I just need to plug in to make sure I'm not running out of
Yep.
battery. There we go. Cool. Yeah, no, absolutely. There was really good for that, and I guess that's kind of like I don't know, the wins and the pains of the whole thing for me, because I could have stayed there all my life, and
Mm.
I could have got promotion after promotion within a few more years. You could be on 60, 70 grand a year, working in the office 3 days a week. I mean, that is a cushy number, right, for anyone in this world. And and I was seriously thinking about doing that. But for me, I don't know. It just got to a point where I'm like, is this all I want, just for the money and for the easy work? For me, I just wasn't fulfilled. I don't know. I just went to work. I'm like, this is pretty cool. At the end of
Mhm.
each day, I didn't really feel like a fire or a passion in me,
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
thought, like, do you know what? This is not me. I'm not feeling like my ambitious self anymore in this
Mhm.
place. I kind of just thought to myself, like, I'm just coming in here, getting a raise. I'm here for the money and the cushy little number with working from home and things. Like, but there's nothing really super challenging me here,
Mhm.
or or making me fulfilled at least. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mhm. And I think that's recognition. There's more to you than the job you were doing and the role you were
Mm,
doing. There's more in there. There's more desires. There's more passions about you're enthusiastic and what you want to do. And I think that
yeah,
once you recognise that, it's kind of a bit of a kind of a what do you do? Do you
yeah,
compromise
yeah,
and think, well, I've got the energy to do stuff outside of work, or do I
yeah,
want to say, do I make a change? And that's something
yeah,
where you made a decision as to what you want to do there.
yeah,
That step forward. So tell us about what you did next.
yeah, yeah. So interestingly, I don't know whether you knew a guy called Mike Matthews in the organization. You remember a guy called Mike Matthews? Well, me and him became good friends. We worked on the same project for a few years, and he was in a similar situation to me, but he was like ahead of me in that sense, in terms of, like, he was ready to leave at that
Mm,
point, like fully ready to leave, when I was just kind of like climbing the ladder. And
mm,
so me and him used to speak about kind of like, purpose in life and things. Like, quite a deep guy. I
mm.
think he was a life coach at the time. Actually, I think he
Cool.
still does life coaching.
Hmm.
And he was on an 8B. He was there for years. I think around 60 odd grand a year, right? I
Mm,
mean, amazing money.
mm,
But he was like, I'm just here. I'm coming here. This doesn't feel like me. Like,
mm.
it's the corporate world. And if you see Mike now, he's a totally different human being. Like, it's like, how were you ever in that workplace? He's like, I
Mm,
know, it's so crazy, because he's quite like a hipster kind of guy, right? Is
mm.
that's the way I see him. Um, and now he's actually doing social work. He's totally taken a flip from
Okay.
corporate to social work. Um, but we used to speak back then, and he used to say, so what do you want from life, Mike? He was the first guy
Mm,
actually in my entire life that used to speak to me about these things.
mm,
And I'm like, that's interesting, actually. Like, I'm not fully sure yet. Like, he said, do you see yourself working in here forever? I'm like,
mm,
no, I don't actually, So we spoke a lot about that. And he, at the time, he was growing his own kind of, like, it was like a men's group type of life coaching business on
mhm,
the side. So we spoke a lot about that,
mhm,
and then one day he just approached me and said, Mike, I'm leaving. I'm like,
mhm.
what? He goes, yeah, yeah, I've just handed my notice in today.
Wow.
I'm like, what? When we was going to tell me this, he went, I've literally just decided it today. Well, he said, he said that it's not just been today. There's been loads of things leading up to this point,
Mm,
but I just got a feeling this morning. We're like, I'm just going to put my notice in today. Like,
mm,
I feel like I'm ready for it.
mm,
Um, and we spoke, because he had to do like a few months kind of notice or whatever. And so in that few months of him kind of leaving, it was that point of a transition where I was getting more and more thinking like him at that point. And
mhm,
when he left, I thought, oh man, like, it really stayed with me. This guy who's on all this money, and I thought, he kind of liked it there and things like that, and to a certain extent. And he's just like, no, see you later, bye. And
mm,
I'm like, why would a guy on that much money do that? He just really
mm,
blew my mind. And then he was like, listen, Mike, like, the world is not about money, just about money, right?
mm,
And it was at that point I started to really, like, reassessing that whole thing. Why am I here? Am I
mm,
here for the money?
mhm,
What am I doing here? And as before he left, I always said to him, before before you go, I just want to let you know, if you do ever set up this business of yours that you said that you're going to do,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will be one of your first clients, right?
yeah.
And he's like, great. And we probably didn't speak for 9 months or something, and he
Mm-hmm.
just went traveling around the world.
Mm.
He were doing charity work, he were building homes in Africa, and he just all that kind of stuff, right, while he were building this business.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got a random message from him, and he said, "Hi Mike, do you remember that time you told me you were going to be one of my first clients?" Right? I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, I'm here, I'm ready." I said, "Cool, let's go, send me the bill," type of thing. um and actually doing that was like a huge pivotal point for me.
Mm.
I was still working at NHS Digital, and we spoke with other guys that were in this thing. Some of them were other life coaches, others were psychologists, some were kind of like businessmen that were doing really well for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think I'm getting to the point, Mike, where I want to follow your steps. I
Mm-hmm.
feel. It says, well, Mike, if you're feeling it, then the chance of you actually needing to do it is probably very high,
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon, if that's what's feeling you're getting. But before I did that, just kind of swing it back round to what the next steps. I, you know, I spoke to him about what I need to do to kind of set up, and what he did was he saved up enough money to allow him to live for, like, I think it was like 9 months. He gave him
Okay.
like a
Mm-hmm.
um and then he said, you need to be obviously working on things, what you need to be planning on your next steps of after that. What if
Mm.
if you want to grow a business in 9 months, great, grow the business,
Mm-hmm.
and work towards it. If it doesn't work, then you have to go back to some your job again or whatever.
Mm.
But you need to be working on something. You can't just expect something just to come to you.
Yeah.
Although he did say, if you don't have anything fully defined yet, as long as you got that money, you can essentially get out of the workplace and give your mind time to fully think
It's that
about what you really
space.
want to do.
Yeah.
What
Mm-hmm.
you spoke about earlier is
Yeah.
that space just to allow
Mm-hmm.
yourself to think.
Mm.
Um, and some people might say, well, you can do that after work, right? But that's not how it works, right?
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, when I was at
It's not.
LHSD, I was doing my running, doing my marathon training, ended up setting up a running club, and it's that kind of thing that my time enabled me to do stuff outside of work that I
Yes,
wouldn't have
yes,
been doing if I was in a busier job or kind of
yes,
a more demanding job. But it gave me that space to be able to do that, and
yes,
it's the looking for the opportunity and also look to see, okay, what do I need for me? Preparing
yeah,
myself for what do I need to
exactly.
do on that next step going forwards. And
Yeah,
that's what you've been
exactly.
saying there about that space, that time availability, and that cushion of the money to be able to kind of do these things.
Exactly, exactly. And when I spoke to Mike at the time, he was just like, "What you need sometimes in life." I'll never forget this piece of advice. This is one of the most valuable pieces of advice that I've ever received. He said, "Sometimes you just need to know what's coming, need to not know what's coming next,
Mm,
right? Because if you give yourself that time, so you've saved up enough money, great. You've quit your job." Like it's almost a little bit panic mode, a little bit.
mm,
It's like, right, shit, I've got nothing to do now.
mm,
Um, what next type of thing, right? And it's sometimes good to allow your brain to do that, because
mm,
then you almost turn into like super heavy hustle mode, right? What is coming next,
mm,
right? Let me spend hours a day researching. But you've got the time to do that. Then you don't got this
mm,
9 to 5 job you have to worry about.
mm,
Then all your focus is just on you and what's coming next for you in your life,
mm,
And
mm,
that was so valuable to me. And what and it was strange actually, because when I did quit, I did have a few things kind of in the pipeline at the
mm,
time. I was growing an Amazon FBA business, like a
mm,
private label selling business that started to do really well as I was quitting.
mm,
And randomly, and it all just ties up. I don't know whether it's the universe that was making everything come at this one point in my life, but literally a month before I quit, one of my friends asked me if I wanted to go into business with him.
mm,
Well, he had a furniture company. You see, he had this big, big-ish furniture company, but it wasn't doing very well.
mm,
And he was basically thinking about just shutting it down. And it's
mm,
like, I'm just going to get rid of it. It's too stressful, and we're not doing well. He said, unless you fancy joining and trying to help me out, and
mm,
see if we can get it going.
mm,
And so I was like, yeah, why not? Like, let's do it. I'm quitting my job anyway. I've got
mm,
this other little thing. Let me get a few of these things in the pipeline and working on them.
mm.
So yeah, that's basically what it was. I thought, you know what, this is the perfect time. I just quit. I handed my notice. You had to do a few months' notice, right?
Mm,
Especially at those kind of higher bands. It was at least 2 months, but
mm,
that were fine. It allowed me to kind of like plan even more my
yep.
escape type of thing. And yeah, obviously I had that pot of money in my back pocket as well.
Mm,
I give
mm,
myself um 9 months of kind of really not frugal living, but like, it was very kind of like just being able to live comfortably-ish,
mm,
right? It
mm,
wasn't giving myself 3 grand a month. It wasn't giving myself a grand a month. I think it was something like I saved myself like a grand and a half a month,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
I think I might have saved like about 12 grand or whatever it was,
Mm,
just as a backup, really.
mm,
And so yeah, that's how I kind of started working for myself in the end.
mm. I think it's that journey. It's never an overnight thing, is it? It's the
No,
preparation beforehand, but then you are available to do what you want to do then. And having
100%.
that space then, you've prepped for that. You've done the hard work, which is part of the kind of the preparing yourself for what
Hmm.
you're going to be doing next. I've
Yes, exactly.
obviously in the past with my running and then my writing my books and now doing YouTube and things like that. It's things that have happened beforehand that prepare you for what's next. In my
Yes,
in my job at NHSD, I would never have thought of being able to do a podcast like this or
yes.
a YouTube travel video where I'm going all over the country doing different things. It's
Hmm.
preparation over time that gets you to where you want to be. Now,
Absolutely.
you've always had a good level of self belief and self confidence, but
Yes.
that's not always been the case, has it? You've worked towards
No.
to get that, haven't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I first started the working world, like most people, really, um, there's loads of kind of like self-doubt
Hmm,
and insecurities there. I was a young man, really, rather than like a fully grown, matured man at that point. I don't think men grow until they're in the 30s, right? And so I was in my late kind of 20s at the time, and yeah, I guess for me it was. I guess to get that self confidence, I put myself out there. I just thought whenever challenges came, even though when I felt like as a project manager, for example, like someone said to me, "Right, do you want to take this project on your own?
hmm,
This will be your first full project." And I think it was like a £5 million project, right?
hmm,
And I was like, "Oh, do you know what? Yeah, I've got to do this." And I think why in my own mind is just because I think I just like to push the boundaries a little bit of my
hmm,
own. Um, I just out of the mold, right, and out of your comfort zones, because everyone's got the comfort zone mold around them, haven't they? And you
hmm,
kind of keep it there most of their lives. I don't know what it is. I think there's just something inside me that like I want to push this a little bit more now. Why not? Why
hmm,
not? I just don't want to stay in my comfort zone. And I think the more you do that, the more confidence you grow to do
hmm,
that even more. So that each next kind of like stepping out of that comfort zone gets bigger and bigger,
hmm,
right? And I guess it got to a point where I moved up to kind of like project manager, and I was running project boards in front of like 10, 15 people and doing
hmm,
talks in front of like 50 suppliers and things like this. And it was just pushing your little boundaries step by
hmm,
step that just kind of like brought me to the place that I am now. Really,
hmm,
without doing that, there's no way that I would be where I am right now,
hmm, hmm. So it's
for
it's
sure.
just stepping out and giving it a try.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you go into a
Exactly.
meeting and you're not fully prepared, you will be for the
Yeah.
next one. And it's
Exactly.
not, this
Yes.
one isn't do or die. It's a case of, right, we move forward, we grow, we develop, we make sure we keep moving forwards. And it's that
Exactly.
that that step by step thing. You're not supposed to be perfect on day one. It's a
Nope.
progression, it's a journey. And I think that's the kind of
Exactly.
thing that when you made that step and quit your work job and went
Yeah.
into working for your new company, um, you took that leap of faith. You believed in yourself and said, right,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
go on
Well,
this
no.
journey.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think just as a side note to that, it's like, a lot of people are afraid to fail. They
Mm,
think failing's like a really bad thing if you
mm,
fail in life. But for me, when I took that huge leap of faith to start my own companies, I just thought, "Do you know what? If I fail, so what?"
mm,
That's genuinely what it was. I can't remember someone at the time. It might have even been Mike Matthews. He was like, "You can always go back to your job." Like, who
Yeah.
cares, you know? Like, you can always get a job again if your businesses don't work. And
Mm,
again, that just gives yourself permission to fail, you know?
mm,
It's like the YouTube channels, right?
mm,
Like, I'm sure for you as well, it was like you were probably thinking about it for a while, but after it, you probably just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to start it. I'm not
mm,
going to be great at first. Who
mm.
cares? You know, I know I'm not going to be good at first. Eventually, I will be. But what's the point in starting when I'm really good in
Yeah,
a few years? Why not build that up now? You
totally.
know, and demonstrate my vulnerable side as well. Because I
Mm,
think when you're not looking as good as you could be, people kind of warm to you a little bit more, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't look as well as you, obviously, but
Come
but
on, come
but
on.
my YouTube videos are so. Um, so it's that journey. So I started off, and my travel videos were mostly me filming and not doing much talking on camera, whereas I've kind of grown to doing it mostly on camera and talking about things, much more development and kind of progression. And every video that people do on YouTube, they improve, they move forward. So now 150
Yes,
videos or so on, things are a lot better and have progressed, and there's a lot more polished product at the end of it. And that's
yes,
that's a good picture of how we do life and how we do work and how we take on board growth and development.
absolutely.
One thing I was going to say to you is that kind of you were telling me about to your NHSD journey, you were getting that help from Mike as you were progressing yourself, but you were
Mhm.
also doing that for other people as well. We used to go
Sure,
for a cheeky Nando's at
we
lunchtime,
did, we
and
did.
we used to talk about all different manner of things. And
Mhm.
you were helping me believe that I was more than my role. I was more
Sure,
than just this is what you're asked to do on this project or this is what you're doing
yes,
with this work package. You said actually I
absolutely.
see more. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're doing these other bits and pieces. So
Yeah,
you were doing that hand on to someone else,
sure,
and that's what I'm doing
absolutely.
now with other people as well. It's that kind of, it's not a case of I'm all in this just for me. It's a
Yeah,
case of I'm doing it for those around me, people I want to talk
absolutely,
to and share time with. So
absolutely.
thank you for that. But that's the good thing, that as you learn and as you get greater experience, you can help other
Yeah,
people with that as well. And I think that's the one of the things
100%.
about this channel is to be able to kind of help others see what is possible.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, if someone like Mike Matthews was willing to just take his time out, and we spoke a lot, you know, a lot, and you know, it was probably like 3 or 4 days a week for an hour at a time on our dinner, and we did, you know, we spoke a lot outside as well, and you know, when someone does that for you and you're growing, it really opens your mind up to like, actually, like, and yeah, like I want to do this for someone too, you know, like someone's
Mm-hmm.
helped me. I want to help other people do this. And I think that kind of led me on to what I've been doing for a good, say, 4 years now, which is, you know, I do like, I say business coaching and consultancy, but really it's also like, it's life coaching too, right?
Mm,
And, you know, you know, I help people get out of that rut that they're in life, right? Because a lot of people they do stoop into this, you know, vicious cycle of procrastinating and not thinking that they can do anything anymore because time's gone by too much, or I'm
mm.
40 or I'm 30, like I needed to have done something by now. And
50.
it's really my yeah, there you
Yeah,
go, you know,
yeah,
it really is my part, you know. And I know when we used to speak, was you in your early 40s back,
yeah, yeah,
your
yeah,
early
yeah,
40s? That's
yeah,
what I mean. And so like, you know, when we were having conversations, I remember seeing you and thinking, you know, like this guy can do more, you know,
mm,
and like why not kind of call that out and trying to help this guy do
mm,
more. And it wasn't just you, there were others too, you know. I was,
mm,
you know, whoever I was working with, whether it were a project support person or another project manager, and I felt like they were capable of more, I was always that person that didn't mind saying like, is this all you want for
mm,
life? You know,
mm.
is this really just what you want? If it is, great, that's
Yeah,
amazing for you, you know, I'm happy for you.
mhm,
But you know, most people are like, nah, not really. You know, it's
mm.
like, well, are you doing something about it? Type of thing. What could you be doing?
And that's the thing. Are you accepting where you are? Are you doing
Yeah,
something about it? What steps are you putting in place? The steps
yeah,
you put in place, you learned, you researched, you saved, you did all these things that you wanted to do. You found out what you did want to do and what you didn't want to do. You got
yes,
that plan in your mind. So
yes,
when the occasion and the time came about, you were ready
yeah,
and you were
absolutely.
there. And it's that
Absolutely. And
challenge for other
it's,
people and saying, these are the recommendations, these are the thoughts, this is what you could do. I also
yes,
like the challenge to someone else and saying, what
yes,
would you like to do? Where do you see
yeah,
yourself in 3 years'
yeah,
time, 2 years' time, next month? What
yeah.
stepping stones are you putting in place?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I do think it takes guts to do that, to be
Mm,
honest, especially in the world we live in now. A lot of people are quite sensitive to hearing home truths,
yeah,
even more
yeah.
so these days. And for me, I just don't care really because like for me, I think you need to hear the truth,
Mm,
and it's
mm,
like, well, so it's quite ballsy to say something like that to someone really.
mm,
Like I remember someone saying to me one time, like, wow, no one's really spoken to me like that before, right? Or
yeah.
not for a long time. I'm like, well, but they said, I'm so glad you did. It
Mm,
really shook something in me at first. Like I was quite annoyed, but then when I thought about it, I thought this guy is right.
yeah.
Like he's actually right. And we spoke again, we've become very good friends with those kind of people because like you
Mm,
really helped me snap out of it. And that's what
mm,
a good person or a good friend or a good coach, mentor, that's what they do. They don't keep you in your comfort zones and make you feel nice,
yeah.
They challenge you and get to challenge your own self and beliefs and the position that you're in.
We've both worked with good line managers in the past, supervisors, more experienced people. The best ones want us to go on and on and on, not just to keep doing the job they're doing. And that's the thing
Exactly.
that sometimes you need to be a bit blunt and say, actually, you are capable of so much more.
Yes.
Whether it's in this
100%.
role, another role, a different team, different organization, or for your own thing, or something
Yeah.
you're doing outside of work, something you could do to kind of tick your own boxes.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's interesting because I want to kind of say thanks to you really. And we've never really spoken about this. I haven't really mentioned this to you before, but I was doing my business YouTube for a while, and it's
Hmm.
kind of like it weren't getting a lot of traction, to be honest. To be fair, I wasn't consistent with it, but still, it weren't getting the traction, and I kind of like I lost love for it really. But I remember
Mm,
you messaging me saying like, you've inspired me,
mm,
and you've inspired me to do this, right? And you started your own channel.
mm,
And when I first saw your channel and you started doing well, right, quite
mm,
quickly and growing,
mm.
and I got a little bit of a sting of jealousy actually. Okay, I
Right.
did, right, and I
Mm,
thought been doing this for all. He's come on, he's doing well. I'm like, but it really got me to rethink. Like whenever I get a sting of jealousy, I would quickly turn it into how can this inspire me,
mm, mm,
and very quickly it turned into shit. Like Rich Law's doing well, why am I not doing well? And it made me question myself then, right?
mm.
Why am I not doing well? And it really drove me. And actually you were probably one of the reasons why I started this new channel,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
which we can kind of talk about for a little bit. But
Yeah.
um and like when I saw you doing well, I thought Rich is actually inspiring me because you were just doing it and you were consistent and you were putting it out there and you
Yeah.
were seeing the growth from it, right?
Mhm,
And I
mhm,
thought you give me that extra little kick to go, why have you stopped doing this? And I'm like, well, do
mhm,
you know what? I'm going to pivot. I'm not going to stay on that area.
mhm.
I'm going to go on to a different area, which is, now I'm going into the dating coach world, right?
Yeah. Mhm,
And I've kind of like been in that world for a little bit. Some of my friends have had businesses
mhm,
in that line that have done very well. And it kind of started me on this new path, really. And, I've traveled all over the world now and done
mhm,
this kind of thing and record it. And, my channel's now starting to do well, because I'm
mhm.
in the area that I really should be,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it's all about peeling. I don't know whether you've read a book before, but again, going back to Mike Matthews, it was a game changer for me, Mike Matthew. He told me to read this book called The Way of the Superior Man. Okay.
Okay.
Highly recommend it to everyone who's on this, especially men who are on this
Mhm,
self-development journey, just want to
mhm.
break free from this rut that they're stuck in.
Yep.
And he talks about life being an onion and
Mhm,
peeling back these layers of the
mm,
onion. Every
mhm,
time you make a big change in life, you're peeling another one back. It
mm.
stings for a little bit because you
Yep.
just don't like, but you're getting more closer to your core,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
My eyes are watering it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I electronically, virtually sent you over some some onion
Got your own
juice
back.
there.
Yeah.
But and it's kind of we're all entangled, I believe, and
Mhm,
like I think that the reason why we're here right now is because we both wanted more in life, and
mm.
you wanted, and you have open, even though, so, I think, how I'm about 10 years ish younger than you. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
ish. And
You,
for
you look
you,
20 years younger, but like you're
and
only
it's
about 10, yeah.
crazy. I mean, like, I don't know what's going on.
The Botox
It's
you
the
got there,
cream. It's the cream. But like, for you to be open to listening to a guy that were 10 years younger than you
Mm,
is all credit to you, right?
mm,
Because most people are, especially when they get into the 40s, 50s, they think they know it all, they've been through
mm,
it, and they don't want to
mhm,
listen to someone younger, right? But you
yeah.
were open and you saw that. And you've said to me many times, mate, you've said to me, like, you're an inspiration to me, and
Mm,
that was always, I always really, felt that, and, deeply, because I thought,
mm,
wow, this guy, he wants to change, and he's seeing the inspiration, he's taking it. And you made that change, right? You
mm,
quit your job, you started a YouTube channel, and we're back here full circle, and we're talking on this
yeah,
podcast, kind of,
definitely.
promoting our YouTube channels.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
So thanks for those kind words. And I think it's kind of, I think that we are all capable of getting inspiration from anywhere around us.
Yeah,
I
for
remember
sure.
being at HSD and seeing some of the work the graduates were doing, and seeing they'd only been fresh into the working world of 6 months or so, and
Yes.
that their freshness, their ideas, the challenging the kind of status quo of how it's always been. We hate the
Yeah.
fact that if something's always been like that, no. Does it need to change? Can we do things better? Can we be more efficient?
Yes.
Can we save more money? Can
Yes.
we do all this? You can get inspiration from anyone, and also your old work in the past. I
Yep.
look back at some of my old
Absolutely.
videos and think, crikey, I can now redo that video a lot better and
Yes.
sit and look
Yes.
out to a different market for that. You looked at
Yes.
the videos you were doing previously and you thought,
Yep.
okay, I wasn't so into that as much. Whereas now,
Yes.
I see your videos now. What's your video channel title?
So it's Street Social is
Street
my
Social.
YouTube channel, yeah, and it's all
I'll put the
about,
link on them.
yeah, awesome. It's all about inspiring men. So I put the top line is inspiring men to be men again, and kind
Mm,
of what I mean by that is kind of in this new digital era, especially after lockdowns, people are still in this little stay at home, in this little
mhm,
electronic world, and I want to inspire men to get out there again.
mm,
And it's not all about just meeting women, it's about getting out there and being social,
mm,
right?
mm,
And again, it's all about just pushing yourself,
mm,
stepping out of your comfort zone. It, it was business before, and this one's more about kind of life and social confidence, and how to meet women in the kind of the real world, right?
mm,
But it's all interlinked, in my opinion. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone, living life to the fullest, and
mm,
getting out there and
mhm,
really experiencing the world,
mm. I've seen some of your videos where you just say, "I like your look," or "I like how you walk," or there's things you're giving compliments. You're not looking for anything back.
No,
You're
not at
giving,
all.
and you want someone
Yes,
else to feel good about themselves. And it's that
exactly.
kind of spirit, that feeling that kind of gives you a connection with other people, whether it's work colleagues, whether it's friends, whether it's stranger on the street. You walk down the street and you can have a laugh and joke with anybody and make them feel
Exactly.
better. And then
Yes,
we feel better by doing that as well.
exactly. Exactly. And that's the whole point.
Hmm.
Like, you're going out there, you're not expecting anything from anyone. You're going
Hmm.
out there because you want to do this, and you
Mm,
want to make other people happy, because in turn that's going to make you happy. And
definitely.
if what comes out of that is you get dates with women and you find your future wife, even better, right?
Hmm.
But my channel is all about just being out there and having a good time in life,
Mm,
bringing a good vibe, and having, and it will just, if you get good in that area, it will help elevate you in all other areas in
mm,
life. It'll help you in business. It'll help you with your family. It'll help you at work. It will help you
mhm,
in every area, wherever you
mm,
go in life. And it'll just make you a more well-rounded, successful, and happier person. That's what
mhm.
the main aim of my channel is, really, for
But
sure.
also, you show on there how sometimes things don't work, and it's not
Yes,
100% all the time. Sometimes you get a
exactly.
knockback. Sometimes you get people who just don't want to talk to you, and
Exactly.
that's life. And that's
Yeah,
sometimes you talk to anybody and you just don't get that same response you're looking for. But that's just part of it.
exactly.
But you're showing how you deal with that, how you handle that, how you learn, and how you kind of grow from that interaction, and you get anything
Exactly.
as a gain from any scenario as well. So it's really good what you're doing there, and the work you're doing can be
Thank you,
applied
mate.
to business. It can be social, dating, any aspect of it, and it's just kind of, it's good that you're putting that out there as well as everything else you're doing as well. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, again, it just links back. Everything ties in my opinion. And what I mean by that is like, I wasn't, you shouldn't be afraid to fail. Get out there. Like I wasn't when I quit my job, like you wasn't. You've got, if you fail, you fail. So
Mm,
what? It's not, I don't even like using the word fail, to be honest. It's just, you either win or you learn, right? I know it's becoming
mm,
a bit of a cliche term that now, but you're either winning or you're learning. Because if you fail, that means you've learned something and you're
mm,
growing from it. So how can that be a fail, right?
mm,
Just like with approaching women, like I get rejected a lot in the street, okay?
mm, mm,
So what? They might be having a bad day. They might have a husband. Like it's no reflection upon you. You've
mm,
just got to go out there. And I really don't care if I fail in that kind of way. I
mm,
hope I've provided them with some happiness, whether
mm,
they feel it, whether they think it in the time or not.
mm,
Because some people are like, oh no, whatever. Like, don't want to talk. I'm like, okay, cool, have a nice day.
mm,
Later on, they might think, oh, do you know what? That was really nice,
mm,
and it might
mm,
make them feel better later. So it's always a win-win, no matter what.
mm,
If you get rejected, it's a learning point and it's just a part of life. In business, life, relationships, work, whatever it is, there's always going to be learning points and there's always going to be wins, and you've
mm,
got to take both. Life isn't just about peachy cream and roses. It's like, that's not life. You can't
mm.
have the wins without the losses. That's just the
Definitely.
way it is, in my opinion.
And as you say, you either win or you learn. You grow from it. You kind of, and how you deal with that is your choice from there onwards.
Exactly.
Is that
Yes,
step
exactly.
forward?
Yes.
Just to wrap things up,
Yeah.
on this podcast, we ask every person on to choose one song to add to the Rich Lord Vlog podcast playlist. Now,
Yes.
you've chosen a
Yes.
song which I listened to earlier on, which is really good. Tell us
Yeah.
about that track.
Yeah. So for me, like especially since I've started getting into the dating coach world, I've really taken on, like, or really accepted my Northern English heritage,
Mm,
right? Like before, especially when I went down south, because they seem really posh in this accent, I used to be really kind of like ashamed of it, really.
mm,
But as time's gone on, you speak to a lot of people, they all go, I love your accent. And I'm
mm,
like, what, really? So it's, going out there and getting real life reference experience has
mm,
really helped me feel comfortable in my Yorkshire roots.
mm.
So this song is connected to that because it's called North,
Yep,
and it's a guy from Yorkshire, and it's about Yorkshire and how good it is, and you should come here if you haven't, right? And so this is like an amazing tune, and it couldn't have been any other. It has to be this one.
excellent, great. We'll add it to the podcast playlist and we'll put a link in the description as well.
Nice one.
Mike,
Amazing.
thank you so much for this chat. It's been brilliant to talk to you, and I'm sure lots of people listening to this and watching this will learn lots about it. And I can see that you're going to inspire lots more people, not just in this video, but for the rest of your life as well. So, Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been awesome to catch up. Thank you for asking me to come on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and just keep going with it, my friend. All we can do is keep working, and I love what you're doing here. So continue.
Great stuff. And we'll have a cheeky Nando soon.
Indeed, we will. Take care, my friend.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Adios.
And thank you very much to Mike there for all that. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, click subscribe. All the links we've talked about will be in the description later on. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye-bye for now.